Welcome to Zoe Stories. How a prank led me to become a perfect girl. Chris lived a simple life, one that many would describe as safe, predictable, and comfortable. At 25 years old, he was your average office worker, quiet, introverted, and someone who preferred blending into the background. His routine was firmly set. Wake up, head to the office, sit at his desk, and work in isolation, often drowning in a sea of spreadsheets and reports. When work ended, he would return home to his small apartment, where he'd spend the evenings watching TV or scrolling mindlessly through social media. His life felt like a series of days strung together with little variation, each one blending into the next. But beneath this calm exterior, there was something that gnawed at him. He couldn't quite pinpoint it, but it was a feeling he couldn't shake, the sense that there was something more to life that he wasn't experiencing. Maybe it was the monotony of it all, or perhaps the way society's expectations seemed to hang over him like a thick fog. Whatever it was, Chris couldn't ignore it any longer. He was stuck in a routine, trapped in a life that didn't fully satisfy him. But even though he felt this unidentifiable longing, he didn't know where to start, what to change, or even if it was possible to break free from the life he had built. At work, he rarely stood out. He had a few acquaintances, but no real close friends. He'd never been particularly comfortable in his own skin, always feeling like he was playing a role, acting in a way that others expected of him. Deep down, he knew there was more to him that he hadn't explored yet, but the problem was he didn't know how to start. Internal dialogue. Maybe it's just the job. Maybe it's just the routine. Maybe if I did something else, I'd feel different. But what else could I do? I'm just Chris, the quiet guy. The one nobody really notices. It was a thought that had crossed his mind more than once, but it always fizzled out, leaving him feeling just as stuck as before. What was he missing? Where was the spark that could ignite his life? Everything began to change one afternoon in the office. Chris was sitting at his desk, quietly typing away at a report, when his coworkers Kelly and Matt strolled over. Kelly, the bold and outgoing woman from marketing, was laughing with Matt, the office prankster. They were talking about the upcoming Halloween party, and that's when it happened. "Chris," Kelly grinned, "we dare you to come to the party dressed as a woman. You know, full on, makeup, wig, the works. What do you say?" Chris blinked in surprise, his fingers frozen on the keyboard. "What? Are you serious?" he asked, not sure if they were joking or not. "Oh, we're serious," Matt added with a mischievous smile. "It'll be hilarious. You've got the perfect build for it." Chris felt a strange mixture of emotions, embarrassment, confusion, and a hint of curiosity. "I don't know, that's not really my thing." Kelly leaned in closer, her voice dropping slightly. "I'll help you. I can do your makeup, pick out an outfit. It'll be fun. Just think about it. You might be surprised." For a moment, Chris considered backing out. It sounded absurd. He was the quiet guy, the one who avoided attention. The thought of walking into a room full of people, dressed as a woman, made his stomach churn. But then, something inside him shifted. He couldn't explain why, but the idea intrigued him. What if this was an opportunity to break free from the usual? What if it could be a chance to step into a different role, even if just for a night? "All right, I'll do it," he found himself saying before he could stop himself. The day of the party arrived, and Chris found himself standing in his apartment, staring at the clothes Kelly had picked out for him. The dress was red, form-fitting, with a slight shimmer that caught the light. He couldn't deny that it looked beautiful. The heels were high, much taller than anything he had ever worn, and the wig was long and dark, cascading in waves. Kelly had even picked out a pair of stockings, adding to the already overwhelming feeling of strangeness. Chris's heart pounded in his chest as he stood in front of the mirror. His reflection was unrecognizable. The masculine features he was used to seeing had been softened by layers of makeup, foundation that smoothed his skin, eyeshadow that accentuated his eyes, and lipstick that made his lips fuller. The transformation was more complete than he could have imagined, and as he turned this way and that, taking in the changes, he felt a wave of both excitement and fear wash over him. "How do I look?" he asked Kelly, his voice barely above a whisper. He felt like an imposter in his own skin. Kelly smiled, her eyes sparkling with approval. "You look incredible. Trust me, you're going to have the best time tonight." But as Chris stood there, his reflection staring back at him, he couldn't help but feel a rush of emotions. The woman looking back at him was confident, poised, and somehow different. For the first time in a long while, Chris felt a sense of power. It was as if the clothes, the makeup, and the transformation had unlocked something inside him that had been hidden for years. He slipped on the heels, feeling a strange sense of grace as he stood taller than usual. The click of the heels on the floor sent a jolt through him, making him realize how strong and confident he felt. But then came the nagging thought, am I just playing a role? Is this really me? Despite his doubt, he couldn't shake the excitement that surged within him. It felt liberating, as if he were shedding the skin of someone he no longer wanted to be. At the Halloween party, Chris was greeted with a mix of surprised glances and admiring compliments. People stopped to talk to him, to ask about his costume, and Chris found himself laughing and engaging in conversations he never would have had in his normal life. He felt like a different person, a more confident, engaging version of himself. For the first time in years, people were genuinely noticing him, and it wasn't just because of his appearance. There was something about the way he held himself, the way he moved and interacted with others, that was drawing people in. But as the night went on, Chris began to feel a deep tug within him. The attention, the compliments, they were all flattering, but they also made him question his identity. Was this how he was meant to be? Was he pretending? Or was this the real version of himself? The confusion began to set in, and with it came a deeper sense of unease. Kelly noticed his silence and pulled him aside, sensing his internal struggle. "Hey, are you all right?" she asked, her tone soft but knowing. "I don't know," Chris confessed, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "I thought this was just a prank, but it feels real. Like I'm someone else, someone I didn't know I could be." Kelly smiled knowingly. "That's the thing, Chris. Sometimes the person we are is the one we've been hiding all along. Maybe this is your chance to find out who you really are." Chris looked at her, unsure. "But what if I can't keep doing this? What does it mean for me, for my life?" Kelly shrugged, her smile widening. "Maybe it's not about knowing right away. Maybe it's about exploring. Don't rush it." The next day, Chris walked into work, the hangover of the night before still lingering in his mind. He felt different, and he couldn't deny that something had changed. The transformation had been more than just physical, it had been emotional and psychological, too. His whole life, he had been hiding behind the role of the quiet, introverted office worker. But now, for the first time, he felt like he had glimpsed something else, something more authentic, something real. As he sat at his desk, going through his usual routine, Chris couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't the same person he was before the party. The question, "Who am I really?" lingered in his mind, but it wasn't as overwhelming as it had been before. He had an answer, even if it was just the beginning of the journey. He didn't know where this path would lead him, but he knew he had taken the first step. Maybe it was just the start of something new, something that would continue to unfold. He had learned something about himself that night, not just about the way he looked, but about who he could be if he allowed himself to embrace the unknown. And for the first time in years, Chris felt something he had never felt before: hope. Thank you for joining us on another captivating journey through Zoe's stories. Remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep believing in the magic of storytelling. See you in the next chapter.